Hello, welcome back to SimonsRants. I'm Simon, and today I'm going to be giving my second thought on Dunkirk. I'm going to be going over the entirety of the plot, so I'm going to spoil anything that can be spoiled about this movie, so if you don't want that, then go ahead and click away now. For those of you who don't know, Dunkirk is Christopher Nolan's latest released film. He is working on Tenet right now. I wish I could do a review on that, but I can't yet. This movie is about the real-life events of the British Army evacuating from Dunkirk. They're facing certain defeat, and so by evacuating, they actually are able to treat it as a small victory in a way. And that's what this whole movie is about. It's about perspective. It's about choosing to view certain things as something specific. And as we've talked about with Nolan, he loves to do that. He did it in Memento. He did it in Inception. He loves to do stuff like this where he's talking about choosing to believe something specific about something else. So this movie is taking a retreat and turning it into a victory. And not only is the overall plot about that, but very specific moments in the plot are like that too. I've talked about it before, but at the end of the movie, yes, I'm going to skip right to the end, you've got these two soldiers leaving on a train. They escaped on the boats, they got to the docks, they were given blankets and like coffee or tea and something to eat, and then they're put on a train to go back wherever they're going. And there's a blind man handing out stuff. But you don't know he's blind at first, because he's just not looking at them doing his thing. Harry Styles is there and he gets his stuff, and he's like offended that the guy won't even look him in the eye. He's like, he's ashamed of us. He knows we lost. We're failures, and he's ashamed. And then the other soldier stops and looks, and the blind man looks up, and you can tell that he is blind. And so then that soldier has a completely different interpretation of the exact same event because he chose to stick around a little bit longer to see what was really happening. So instead of somebody being ashamed and not looking at you, somebody was so proud of you that they were able to, beyond their disability of being blind, come out and serve you. So it's two completely different perspectives based on the same event. And so this movie is the same event told in three parallel stories, but they're different timelines. You've got a week, a day, and an hour, all told in the same length. And that's a cool idea, and some parts of this movie are really cool for it. But I will admit, it wasn't my favorite nonlinear storytelling format that Christopher Nolan's ever done. He loves nonlinear storytelling, and a lot of the time it's really cool. Memento, it's awesome. In Prestige, it's really well done. Inception was brilliant in how they did it, but this one was only okay. And I know why he did it, but at the same time, I only like it partially. Now, the good parts about this movie is it actually does show you some events before it shows you the people involved in. And that is a really cool perspective because of one simple thing. It's showing you the people saving the soldiers before you know who the soldiers are. So you're from the perspective of the people saving them. You have no emotional connection to these characters. You have no reason to care for these characters other than they're, the soldiers. They're your kindred spirit. So you're saving them out of the pure goodness in your heart, out of your desire to help other people. And then it goes back and it introduces you to those characters that were in that situation. Like, we already knew that Harry Styles and this other guy were the main characters, but we didn't know they were on the boat that was sinking and was on fire. We see those people getting saved in the scene, but we don't know yet that those characters are on that boat at that moment. So you see these people getting saved and you're like, good, we're saving soldiers. And then you go back and you meet those people that are getting saved, and it changes everything. And this movie is really great at showing you that perspective and saying like, hey, you're saving people you don't know, but just because they're people you don't know doesn't mean they aren't a main character in their own story. And that's a really great way to do it, because it's hard to do that in a film. It's hard to give you dual perspectives like that, of like saving somebody you don't care about or don't know anything about, and then that also being the main character. That's awesome. That's really cool. The negatives, however, is that the whole end of this movie is just kind of convoluted. I actually saw this movie in theaters 3 times just to try to understand the movie, And it's not because it's some clever plot twist. It's not because it's some sort of genius filmmaking tactic. It's just because it's needlessly confusing. You've got Tom Hardy's character flying in a plane, saving the day, and then I don't even know how to explain it. Like there's too many planes, and then there's not enough planes, and it just, the whole scene doesn't make sense. I know people have explained it. It just wasn't well done. It's confusing needlessly. It doesn't need to be confusing, but it just is. And I think part of it was just rushed, because this movie is, especially for Nolan, pretty short. And that's another thing I like about this movie, but we'll get into that in a minute. I think that the ending is a bit rushed because it does show Tom Hardy's events from his perspective, but then from the perspective of Kenneth Branagh, it's just showing his face. I would like to see how they correlate exactly. Like, I know Tom Hardy shot a plane, but you're showing Kenneth Branagh going like, oh. It's like, I want a little more information than that. Come on, bud. But getting back to it being a shorter movie, I brought up previously that Nolan likes to directly go against whatever the critics are saying about him at that time. So the most recent thing that people have been saying about him was two things. One, his movies are too long and drawn out needlessly. He doesn't know how to edit down a scene. And two, he can only explain his plot through exposition. He can only do movies with a lot of talking. And so this movie had a minimum of talking. There's several scenes where there's no dialogue at all. And then this movie is his shortest movie since Following. He wanted to prove that he could do both of those things. Now, he did almost kind of prove them right in the area that the ending is a bit sloppy, so he didn't quite know how to fix that and make that compact and neat. But the movie is still great. There's a couple of nitpicks with that, but overall the movie is phenomenal. I'd give it like an 8 or an 8.5. It is a very good movie, but it's not his best because of a couple of things like that. But I do definitely appreciate him combating against the critics like that. It's a lot of fun to see that, where everybody has these assumptions about what he can and can't do, and then he goes, oh wait, I like to do that, but that doesn't mean I have to do that every time. Here's a movie where I don't do that, and it's still going to be amazing. And it is. So I enjoy that a lot about his work. I know he's not the only director that does that, but I still appreciate when he does do it. But that being said, this movie is really good, but it's not his best movie. He didn't lean on his strong suits in this movie, which is a lot of deep plots, a lot of, like, you have to watch it multiple times to get it, which I did for this movie but shouldn't have had to. And character building moments. There was no real character building moments in this movie. I didn't ever really feel invested in any of the characters that much, other than the fact that, like, ooh, it's Tom Hardy, ooh, it's Harry Styles. You know, it's beyond that. The characters aren't really fleshed out that much, which is fine. But overall, I enjoy this movie for the philosophy more than the actual story. And I don't know that that is a good thing for this movie. But other than that, I mean, the directing is good. The writing is good for the most part. The pacing is good. Despite it being so short, it still felt long in a good way. It felt drawn out like it was supposed to. It felt like you were being exasperated, which was the point of this movie. It was supposed to feel exhausting in a way, and it did. The firefights in the sky were some of the best moments, especially seeing them on a big screen were great. And there was a lot of great little acting moments. It's just overall not quite the same quality as some of Nolan's works. So I like it a lot. I could even say that I love it. But as far as the bar goes for Nolan, it's at the bar. It's not way above it or anything. So this is what I've come to expect from Nolan, is even when he's not making his best movie, he's still making a really, really good movie. So yeah, that's it for the Nolan reviews. Who do you want me to go through next? Or I can just review whatever kind of movie. Let me know in the comments below. And of course, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It really does help out a lot. Thanks, guys. Bye.